All right. Now, what about this business about a war on Christmas? Is it real? Is it just in Christians' imagination? Are we overly sensitive in our politically correct society? I want to bring on Dr. Mike Smalley, founder and president of Worldreach Ministries. His crusades planted 64 churches in Africa and Central America. Dr. Smalley is the author of 10 books, including 7 questions you should ask yourself every day. And where's my answer? Doctor, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. Welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Look, but before we jump into this, I can't pass up on the opportunity to ask you about evangelist Franklin Graham saying because of what just happened with this omnibus bill, he's leaving the Republican Party. A lot of folks like me who are Christian are looking at what he did and saying, "Oh, there's a truth teller right there, not encumbered by politics, but speaking truth as the gospel informs him." What say you?
You know, I think his decision to do that is going to have great impact on a lot of people, and I think he just reflects the feeling of many people. As you know, Chris, there's a lot of anger in our country. There's a lot of disappointment. The GOP, many Christians feel like they've had control of things for several years. They've really done nothing with it. Leadership vacuum with John Boehner, and now this horrible spending bill that they just passed. So I think that you're going to see a lot more of that. And it's interesting because, you know, Billy Graham has been the opposite. Billy Graham has been an evangelist for 60-plus years, and no one knows his political views within reason. He never ventures into those waters. Franklin, his son, is kind of the opposite of that. But even he has been reserved in some ways. And so for him to come out and just say, you know what, GOP, I'm done with you, that really shows you the tipping point that people are at in their belief system about the political culture of our day, and the failure of politicians on both sides of the aisle to really represent the will of the people, especially from the faith side of things.
Yeah, well, I couldn't, very well said, and I couldn't agree more. I think this is a harbinger, and folks inside of the GOP ought to be paying attention. Okay, speaking of the GOP, Republican Sid Miller, our agriculture commissioner here in the state of Texas, said on Facebook that people must say Merry Christmas to him or nothing at all. He is done with this whole Happy Holidays thing, and he says the next person that says Happy Holidays to him, he's going to slap him. This is. Do you get the sense, because every single time that this whole war on Christmas thing has been pointed out, a lot of folks, particularly on the liberal left, have said, "Oh no, it's just your imagination; it's not real." But so many of we Christians are so tired of being told to, again, sit down and shut up and not pipe up about such things. I see this as a boiling over point here as well. We're tired of being told that because we're Christian, we don't have a say.
Yeah, exactly. And here's what I often ask people. Can you imagine the uproar? And we know, of course, Christmas is a federally paid holiday. I mean, the government shut down. People are paid. Webster's Dictionary tells you it's a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. And yet you see the continual every year. Kids can't sing traditional Christmas songs in school, and manger scenes are coming down, and all the crazy stuff that you see taking place. I've been surveying when I go to stores, and people tell me Happy Holidays when I check out. I'll ask them, have you been told not to tell me Merry Christmas? And 90% of the time, the staff look at me quietly and say, we're not allowed to tell you Merry Christmas. So Imagine the uproar if we insinuated publicly that to celebrate Martin Luther King Day, which is also a federal paid holiday, we would love to celebrate it, but we're going to ban the mention on that day of Martin Luther King. Imagine the absurdity of that and the uproar over that. Everybody knows it's a day about honoring civil rights leaders, and the day's named after Martin Luther King. Well, Christmas is after Christ, and it's what the majority of Americans celebrate this time of year. It's not winter solstice. They don't the majority celebrate Kwanzaa, and the majority are not Jewish celebrating Hanukkah. The majority are celebrating Christmas, and in that mindset, they know that links back to the birth of Jesus Christ and celebration thereof. So there certainly is a growing anti-Christmas celebration acknowledgement. We're trying to move it toward a secular base where it's all just, everybody's having multiple holidays. We're all a big melting pot. And statistically, it's just, of course, not true, and Christians are speaking up because they're really, frankly, quite tired of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. By the way, my guest is Dr. Mike Smalley. He's founder and president of Worldreach Ministries. The crusades that he has put on have planted 64 churches in Africa and Central America. We detailed on this program the double standard inside of the government-run schools. You have up in Kentucky the Linus speech in A Charlie Brown Christmas, which was the true meaning of Christmas, why we celebrate the holiday. It was stricken because one family complained about it being in there. So all references to Christ was removed from a Christmas play in Kentucky schools. Meanwhile, over in Virginia, they were partaking in a calligraphy contest, or a calligraphy lesson, rather. And of all the phrases they chose to write and practice their calligraphy, it wasn't 7 years ago. It wasn't we the people in order to form a more perfect union. It was something called the Shahada, which is, of course, Muslim, and it is something that is said out loud by folks who are converting to Islam. That's what this government-run school chose to have their students practice calligraphy writing. The double standard couldn't be any more in your face, could it, Doctor?
No, it couldn't, and that's one of the examples where they're coming out of the news every single day, where the culture is really persecuting Christianity, and people, and statistically, we know the majority of this nation still identifies themselves with a Judeo-Christian belief system, the vast majority. And so it's a continual cultural war that we're seeing. It's why Christians have to speak up. People of faith have got to speak up. And I was encouraged this last week when I saw the report of a particular play, a Christmas play at a public school, where it was a Christmas-oriented play, was a scripture that was going to be quoted in the play. Someone heard about it, complained. They banned the scripture. Word began to spread. Parents got mad. And when it came time in that part of the play where the scripture would have been read, the audience stood up and quoted the scripture, and the play went on.
Nice. And you know what? I think there is, and you can't remove this from the political discussion right now, because Christians have been, from the highest office in the land, have been lambasted, have been criticized, while radical Islam has been largely untouched by the occupier of the Oval Office, President Obama. He continues, Dr. Smalley, to point out the crusades as somehow justification for all the atrocities being visited on America today by radical Islamic fundamentalist terrorists. And I think that a lot of Americans, as you rightly point out, are a little fed up with being told that Christians are the problem.
Very much so. You know, even at the prayer breakfast this year, he was lecturing those in attendance on the same subject, educating them as if they didn't have any knowledge of history. And he was of course, out of context, quoting the Crusades and all of that, which A, of course, happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago. B, if you look at it historically, was instigated by Muslims even then. And some of the atrocities, of course, that were conducted during the Crusades, all major evangelical Christian leaders condemn many of the behaviors of the people at that time who were doing wrong things in the name of Christianity. It's a double standard in so many ways, and it's just so out of context for the culture of what we're having and facing right now. You got a president that won't even say Islamic terrorism at the same time. And just think of this: no matter what a person's view is on gay marriage, we know the majority of the country has voted against it in every major election. Yet those rainbow lights went up on the White House the day the Supreme Court made it the law of the land. And yet the majority of Christians or people in this country still celebrate Christmas, but there's no nativity scene at the White House Christmas tree this year, and there won't be as long as this president's in office. So it's a continual in-your-face slam at the traditions and belief systems of this country and people of faith in favor of what many Christians view as radical belief systems that are being heralded as right and pushed down against them, whether they believe it or not.
Well, let me be probably not the first, not the last, to tell you Merry Christmas, Dr. Mike Smalley, and he's the founder of Worldreach Ministries, folks. Where's their website they can go to check out more about what you do, sir?
Merry Christmas to you, Chris, and the website. We've got a free downloadable book they can get there. It's 32 pages, and it's MikeSmalley.com.
MikeSmalley.com. Okay, sir. Appreciate the visit. As always, we'll talk again in the new year. Stick around, folks. We got more to come on the Salcedo Show. I've got to get into this.